Today I'm solving for 25 times 17. That's 25 groups of 17, or I like to think of it as 17 groups of 25, because 25 is a friendlier number for me. My first step is to make an estimate, and since I don't like that 17, I'm going to think 25 times 20. And if I can't do that in my head, I can think that 20 is 2 times 10, and then use my associative property to use the 2 to double 25, which gives me 50 times 10, and that equals 500. So 500 is my estimate, but I know that it's a high estimate because I increased the 17, so my answer will be less than 500. My next step is to model 25 times 17 concretely using base 10 blocks in an area model. So that looks like this. I have 10, 20, 25, and I can show you what that looks like here. And then I have 10, 7, 17 across the top. The next step is to fill in this area model. So I do that with my base 10 blocks. And I needed to borrow one from the top here to fill in my units down here. And once I've got that filled in, this whole area looks a little bit less intimidating. And it looks like I can solve chunks or parts of it to get the whole product. And this strategy is called partial products. So my first chunk is 20 times 10, which is 200. My second chunk is 20 times 7, which is 140, or 70 plus 70. My next chunk is 5 times 10, which gives me 50 here. I can see by my rods there. And then my next chunk is 5 times 7, which I might know is 35 because I know my 5 times tables, or I can count up my units down here. So then the next step is to take all these chunks, these 4 chunks that I made, and to add them all together. So I'm going to add from left to right because that lets me know if I'm in the ballpark of my estimate right away. So 200 plus 100 is 300. 40 plus 50 plus 30 is 120. And then 5 plus no other ones is 5. I'll keep adding from left to right, so 300 plus 100 is 400. 20 plus no other 10s is 20, and 5 plus no other ones is 5. So my final answer here is 425. I'm thinking back to my estimate, and that makes sense because it's around 500, but it is less than 500. And I can also check with my concrete model here and see that I have 425. The only problem with this strategy is that this was a bit of a pain using all these rods and all these units. So I did try another way to do this problem concretely. And so instead of working with the 17, I wanted to work with 20. So I added 3 groups of 25, knowing that I need to subtract this at the end. So once again, that model looks like I have the 25 over here and the 20 along the top, and it looks like this. Next, I can go ahead and fill in that area model, and this one fills in pretty quickly. After that, I solve for my partial products, and I only need to find 2 in this situation. So 20 times 20 is 400, so I can put that in. And then 5 times 20 is 100, 50 and 50. So I can put that in there. The next step is to add those up, which gives me 500. But that's not my final answer because I still need to subtract these 3 groups of 25. Concretely, it looks like taking away these last 3 columns, just like that. Or I thought of it as having 3 groups of 25 is like having 3 quarters, which I know is 75 cents. So then if I take away my 75 from the 500, I end up with 425. I know from my previous example that that's the correct answer, and once again it makes sense with my estimate. And I found this way was a bit more efficient. The next thing I want to show you is how to do 25 times 17 symbolically. Once again, I don't like that 17, so I'm going to make it friendly but in a different way. I'm going to split this into 2 groups. So I'm going to have 1 group of 25 here, and then 16 groups of 25 here. I still have my full 17 groups of 25, but I've made it easier to work with them. This group is really easy to solve for. I know it's 25. I'm going to put that in my pocket and save it for later. This group is also easy to solve for because I'm going to use my half and double strategy. This means that I can half the number 16 and double the number 25, and it ends up being the same equation. I guess not the same equation, but the product is the same at the end. So once I half and double that, I end up with 50 times 8. Here, this strategy is working with the idea of equivalence. If I can't do 50 times 8 in my head, I can half and double it one more time. So I'll do that, and I end up with 100 times 4. That's easy for me to do in my head. I know it's 400, but that's not my final answer because I still have this guy in my pocket to add in. So I take my 400 and my 25, which equals 425. And then my last step is to compare it against my estimate. And once again, it's in the ballpark of 500, and it's less than 500, which is what I expected. And that makes me think that this answer is reasonable, and these were effective and efficient strategies for me.